trust has that you can designate substitute beneficiaries, right?
Yeah,
so
there you go.
So you don't need a will. Yes.
If there's an investor that lives, for example, in the US, and they cannot leave the country for different reasons,
Okay.
how they can acquire a property in Mexico with somebody from the family, if it's possible, how can they do that?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Congratulations, you acquire your property in Riviera Maya. But what we have to do after you acquire your property in Riviera Maya? So stay in this video because today we got a special guest, Daniel Marin, which is a CEO of Anchor Attorney. And today we're gonna talk all these little details that we need to know about different parts, different process after you acquire your property. So, Danny, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Hello, everyone, and thank you for watching this video.
Thank you, Danny, for your time. And I was asking Danny, what are the exactly details or different points that we need to know from your experience, from where we need to start after, like if an investor acquired the property Tulum, Playa del Carmen, somewhere in Riviera Maya, what is the first step that they need to know for this part?
Of course. Well, the most important part is to know that in order for foreigners to acquire a property in this area, they have to constitute something that we call trust, residential trust, right? Which is not the same as the trust they may know in US or Canada, but it's similar, okay? So the trust for us is just the vehicle, it's just the mean for them to acquire the property.
Okay.
So they don't have to be, they don't have to have an account with the trustee bank. They don't have to be a bank associate or something. They don't have to do that.
Right.
There's just going to be a file in this bank where the bank's going to hold the trust.
Okay.
And everything that you put in, the buyers are going to be the full beneficiaries of that.
Okay.
So basically, it's kind of like a safe,
Right.
The bank has a safe, you put a property in it, you're the full beneficiary of the property. The bank will appear, right? Well, but the buyer is actually the beneficiary of the property.
Okay. Yeah. Because this is the very important point. People or foreigners from Canada or USA, sometimes they said, here we got a trust.
Right.
Yeah. But it's a different, as you said. And they asked me, but if there's a bank in between, that means that the bank is the owner of my property in Mexico? Is that right? Yeah,
they're kind of, it's not they own the property, they hold the trust. Right?
Okay.
And they help you, again, it's a vehicle, so they help you acquire the property.
Okay.
Right? So they hold the trust, but you're the beneficiary of it.
Okay.
Right? So it's like a team, let's say.
Right. Okay.
They are the mean as a Mexican entity, right? Due to our legislation, the banks are the ones that can hold this kind of trusts.
Okay.
And the beneficiary is the buyer, so has all the rights regarding the property. So it's super safe.
Okay. And when we start, when it would be the perfect time to start the trust? If we are looking, I think there's 2 points. When it's at immediate delivery or there's already built the condominium, we need to do the trust right away, right?
Yeah. Well, the basic thing that we have to have in order for us to start setting up the trust is something that it's called condominium regime.
Okay. Yeah.
So depending if it's a pre-sale or resale, they would have it ready, right? So basically, the condominium regime, it's a deed, it's a document that describes perfectly the project the builder has constructed.
Okay. If they don't have that condominium regime, you cannot.
Yeah, because the first thing that we do in order to set up the trust is get a permit from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Right.
They have to authorize the buyers to set up the trust.
Okay.
Within a specific bank. At that point, you've already, we suggest some banks. And at that point, you've already decided which bank you want to use. But yeah, the first thing that we do is send all the paperwork to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, so the ministry can deliver or issue a permit, right? Saying, yeah, we authorize you to purchase the unit, house, whatever you're purchasing.
Okay.
So at that point, we need the condominium regime because we need this to extract the description of the unit that the buyer is acquiring.
Okay.
And the description, I mean, because sometimes you have a brief description in the contract.
Yeah.
But by description, I mean specifications, like really thorough measurements, surface, common areas, all this that are on this only document that's called condominium regime.
Okay.
That's why we need it in order to get the permit and then to set up the trust.
Okay. And when it's most of our investors in this moment, they are looking for pre-sales.
Okay.
In a pre-sale, this condominium regime is not ready yet.
No.
So they can do the trust or fideicomiso at this point when if the condominium delivers in 2025, is recommendable to do it right now, like when it's a long time to get the property, or better wait? What is the best option that you think?
The thing with pre-sales is that there's a little pause in the process, right?
Okay.
So you start the process with an offer letter, right? And then you continue with, you continue with due diligence and promissory contract. After promissory contract, you have a little pause.
Okay.
And this is due because you've signed your promissory contract, you established already terms and conditions, but from the moment that you sign your contract to the moment that you're going to be closing, it has to be, it's this period of time where the builder constructs,
right.
Gets the construction done. And after getting the construction done, they get the paperwork, which in fact is the condominium regime.
Okay.
So basically, whatever, I mean, I understand, the buyers that they're buying overseas and they have like these questions.
Right.
Whatever is backing you up, legally backing you up.
Right.
From the moment you sign your contract to the moment of the setup of the trust and the signing of the deed is your contract.
Okay.
Right? So yeah, you can purchase, but you don't set up the trust until, let's say, kind of the end of the process.
Let's say maybe, because, okay, this is the question. Sometimes we said 2-3 months before the condominium gets delivered, but
right.
The state or the local office, let's say in Playa del Carmen or Tulum, it might take a little bit more time. Yeah. So it doesn't depends on us. It depends on like the government, right?
Well, you have, whenever you finish a construction, you have to, different steps to take in order to get to the condominium regime. Like licenses and paperwork about the construction itself.
Right.
So probably the building is already finished and ready to be delivered, and even sometimes builders say, okay, so let's deliver, because the buyers
like the physical delivery.
Yes,
physical delivery.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the buyer's interest is to receive the property,
right?
Start using it and renting it. So sometimes the physical delivery happens first. In the meantime, the builder's working the paperwork, is condominium regime.
Okay.
And whenever it happens, then we can set up the trust.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so we get the legal delivery, which is basically
exactly. So there's two kinds of deliveries: physically delivery and legal delivery. It's not on. It might be on the same day.
Yes.
But it might not.
Yes.
It might change.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It happens at different times. Normally, to be honest, in the perfect world, it will be at the same day.
Right.
For example, 9 a.m. your delivery, 11 a.m. you're signing of the deed, the closing.
Okay.
But to be honest, due to different, situations, government paperwork and all this, the documents to get everything ready for the legal closing, for the closing, takes some time. So normally it happens first the delivery and then the closing. So and it's beneficial for the buyers because they're going to be handing the keys. You can start using the property. You can start renting it. You can start.
In that case, because sometimes investors ask us like, okay, I'm getting the condominium, I'm getting my apartment, but how can I know that they're gonna do the condominium regime? Like, I already have it, the apartment, but how can I make sure I'm gonna like sign to be the owner of the apartment?
Well, the first thing is that, again, your contract, I mean, you've already established the terms and conditions in your contract, right?
Okay.
So basically, even though you've been given with the possession of the property,
right,
they still have to accomplish an obligation, which is, signing the deed, right?
Yeah.
So the contract will back you up.
Okay.
And to be honest, to be really, really honest, not only it's the buyer interest to sign the deed. It's also the seller's interest.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Because sometimes they leave some percentage left to be paid once everything is signed.
Okay.
Or sometimes also, well, not sometimes, but this is a fact. The builders have to, sign the properties to the buyers. It's an asset that it's just there, so it's not beneficial for the seller. So they have to sign it. So it's uncommon that builders do not sign, do not transfer by signing the deed to the buyers. But yes, 90% of the ownership it's given whenever the physical delivery is done. So,
and since the beginning, we chose different properties for our investors that they got all the legal paperwork in order. So if they need also to get a trust, if I was going to say FIDEICOMISO, if they want to get the trust, we can help you with the trust, but on a pre-sale, we also can help you to check all the documents, like we call the due diligence. That is very, I don't know if I can say common, to check that and go on the way, on all the way to the trust, no?
Yes, exactly. So in anchor terms, we have a 5-step process, which we start whenever you've already shown the property that you've already you said. So these are the the best investments in town at this point, and they've already signed an offer letter. Right? Because the offer letter is the ensures the seriousness of the purchase, right? So you've already signed an offer letter, or you're in the in the process of signing the offer letter. At that point, we can start our 5-step process, which actually starts with the due diligence. So the due diligence, we do it in 2 ways. One, regarding the property.
Right.
If it's a pre-sale, then the piece of land where the project's going to be built, right?
Right.
So what we do, we go to a public institution that it's called public registry. Right. Where all real estate transactions are recorded there. It's by law that they have to, all these real estate transactions are recorded there. It's by law, so everything's there. So we get an investigation done regarding the legal background of the property.
Right.
Again, in the case of a lot, the legal background of the piece of land, the lot where the project is going to be built.
Right.
That's one thing that we do on the due diligence. And the second one is the paperwork of the seller, right? So we look into the articles of incorporation of the company that it's selling. We look into ID, who's gonna be signing the contract, right? That this person that is gonna be signing has the legal faculties to indeed sign the contract and have some commitment and have some obligations, establish some obligations on behalf of the company that is selling, right? So we look into all these paperwork so we can ensure, so we can give a peace of mind to the buyers that everything is correctly, because we totally understand buyers. We totally understand that you're buying overseas.
Exactly, I was going to say that.
So we try to give all the information and all the, we try to give everything that we can as information, so they can have this peace of mind in legal security.
And this is like the part of this video, like you guys need to know this. It's super easy, like when you are in that site to talk about it, but when you want to like check online or ask somebody like how to acquire a property in Mexico, and sometimes people, because maybe don't know exactly the process, like it take a lot of time, and sometimes people say it's a fraud. It's not a fraud. You just need to go and select with attorney, with a real estate advisor. You have to select the person that you want to work with, and then everything goes. You go with the flow, and it's even better, no?
Yes, smooth, exactly.
Smooth, yeah.
Yes. So basically, the first thing is, like the first filter is your right. Whenever you do your due diligence in a commercial way, right? Like, what are the best investments? This is a good company, a known company that has been, building not only one, but they have different projects and all this, right? So they're committed, they're serious, right? And then we go with the second filter, which is basically the due diligence. Now, after the due diligence, or basically simultaneously to the due diligence, we have the promissory contract, right? That's our second step. So what do? We review the contract on the legal content.
Okay.
We don't go into payment methods and purchase price and all that, because that's on you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we got like, we split. I mean, that's what we said. It's not the same company. We are like, we got, I don't know if it's correct to say in English, we got a synergy, or we get along in a way of business that it works for both of us. But if you want to check with somebody else as a commercial part or legal part, it's all up to you guys, but we just want to share all that part, right? Okay.
Yeah, so basically the promissory contract, we review the legal content.
Yeah.
By legal content, we mean the parties, they're correctly identified. Again, remember, the person who's going to be signing on behalf of the company that's selling has the legal faculties, and it's all there, all the information. Penalties, non-compliant clauses, time frames, all these things that have to be reviewed in order to have a solid contract. Because again, whenever it's a pre-sale, the backup that you have is the legal backup that you have is the contract. So from the moment that you sign the contract to the moment of the closing, whatever it's backing you up is the contract.
Right,
so you have to have a solid contract in order to, in case, this is rare, but in case it happens, you have a solid contract, and you have to, on the go, if you have to execute the contract, then you have to, like solve problems of the contract.
Right.
You have a solid one, and you can execute it perfectly.
Okay. The last part that I wanted to ask you, Danny, Anchor's attorney's fee, how exactly it works? Because it's for us, as we said in another video, it's an investment to have an attorney. We don't suggest to do it by yourself and with your real estate advisor. We do check the contract, but we are not attorneys. Sometimes we might have like details that we don't really know as a commercial site. So how does it work with your fee, with all that part for you as an attorney?
Right, so basically our fee is fixed, and we divide it in two.
Okay.
We seem fair that it's divided this way, 50% and 50%, and this is how. 50% whenever the buyers decide to acquire our services. So so you say, yes, I want to go with your services.
Right.
I want to work with you. And at that point, we sign a services letter.
Okay.
And they engage, by signing, they also take care of the first 50%.
Right.
So we start getting our job done by first and second step.
Okay.
It's a pre-sale, right?
Right.
Then, again, there's a little pause in the process.
Right.
So whenever we get to the third, fourth, and fifth step, which is basically the setup of the trust, the closing with the notary, and the recording process, that's the remaining, let's say, the other half of the process.
Okay.
And that's whenever the remaining 50% is paid, whenever the closing is done, whenever they sign the deed.
It will be when they deliver the commitment?
It will be, well, if the seller delivers at the same time of the signing, then it's going to be at that point. But if it's first the delivery and then the closing, then after the delivery.
Okay.
So the remaining 50% is whenever the deed is signed.
Okay.
Whenever we can give, we've set up the trust, whenever the notary has, been in front of you and signed the deed, or at that point, then you take care of the remaining 50%.
Okay, cool. Is there something else that, from your experience, the investors need to know about the FIDEICOMISO or trust? Something that is like, oh, you need to know that. Maybe I forgot to ask you, but is there something that you might add?
Well, a little bit more detailed explanation about the trust, so you can compare it to the U.S. trust or Canadian trust.
Okay.
Is that the trust has you can designate substitute beneficiaries, right?
Yeah,
so
there you go.
So you don't need a will. So in Mexico at least. So basically, what happens is that whenever we request a permit from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we as the attorneys, we set up a draft, or the draft of the request of the permit, and at that point the buyers will let us know who they want to designate as substitute beneficiaries. So the substitute beneficiaries are like in second place, right?
Right.
Which is the people, or it can be a person or people,
right,
that the buyers designate to take care as owners whenever the owners pass away.
Okay.
Okay. So
I see.
you have the buyers, which is the principal beneficiaries.
Right.
And then you have the substitute beneficiaries.
Okay.
Right? If the buyers pass away, then the substitute beneficiaries will become the principal beneficiaries.
And we need to add it on the contract,
yes,
or
well, it's in the permit.
Okay, I see.
It's
Okay.
going to be in the permit.
Okay,
so
yeah.
So basically, it works like a living trust somehow,
Yeah, okay.
but of the property only. Another thing is that you cannot put money in the trust. You cannot put another thing that it's not a real estate.
Okay.
Because there are some people that ask me, hey, so we send money to the trust. It doesn't work that way. It's just the file for the acquisition of the property. So
I see.
The only thing that comes into the trust is the real estate.
One last question, Danny. I said already last question, but it's different. Different questions that are coming up.
This is what happens to our clients.
Yeah, exactly.
They come back and say, hey.
Even if they have a question, they can leave it on the comments, and also subscribe to the channel. And we do have already, I'll send you the link, a web page with all our properties. So it's rivieramayacozy.com. So you can check properties, and then we can work with Danny to check trust, to check contracts, to check all the legal part. If you are agree with that, we can check with Danny. But the question that I wanted to ask you, if there's an investor that lives, for example, in the US, and they cannot leave the country for different reasons, how they can acquire a property in Mexico with somebody from the family, if it's possible, how can they do that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So in the first step, which is the closing, you have to sign the deed in front of a notary, in Mexican. So the notary requires the deed to be signed presently by hand, let's say. We cannot do it electronically, and we cannot send the paperwork. We cannot do that. It has to be in front of the notary at that point. So it can be either the buyer itself, but in case for any reason he or she cannot come down, we can do that through a power of attorney. Normally we do a limited power of attorney. We have to wait do it here. If they're here and then they go back and they cannot come back for the signing, for the delivery. They come for the delivery, they go back to their home, and they cannot come back because it's a month between the delivery and the deed and signing of the deed, the closing of difference, and they cannot come back. We can get the POA done here, or we can get it done overseas. So the difference is that if we get it done here, it's with the notary, they're signing, the notary will deliver a certified copy, and we can use that to get the signature done. If it's overseas, depending if it's US or Canada, we send the power of attorney. They let us know who they want to designate as a representative. It can be friends, family, it can be us as the lawyers, it can be whoever decide to. We send the paper, they're gonna have to print it, sign it, and then notarize it, with the notary of their choice. And after that, depending if it's US or Canada, they have to either legalize it in the Mexican consulate or apostilled. Get it apostilled, which is in the Secretary of State. Both are stamps. Well, whenever it's Canada, some places of Canada, it's a stamp. It's a piece of paper that the Mexican consulate put in. The POA. Whenever it's U.S., the Secretary of State will put a page and it stamps well, and that will be these two stamps are the ones that are going to be useful for the notary here.
So thank you, Danny, for your time.
My pleasure.
I guess it's a lot of questions they will come up with our investors, and just feel free to ask whatever you need. And
of course,
thank you, Danny, for your time. And
my pleasure.
We'll see you guys on the next video. Ciao.